Sean live in studio.
There we go.
I love it. Yeah! Wow. Good job.
Is that live performance audio? Is that the live performance audio setting for Zoom?
I think so. No, actually, no. It's just turning up your volume really freaking loud.
Okay, next time.
Yeah, also, Kris, part of it is just like moving your microphone around too.
Okay.
Potentially. Yes. You know, the interesting thing about that song, there's lots of trivia around Don't Stop Believin'. One of the things you've probably heard is it's the #1 song of all time.
Is it?
It is. It's the most played, most streamed, most everything ever, even more than Taylor Swift and stuff like that. And yeah.
I didn't know this crap.
I know. And so many sports teams, like when they're chasing the pennant or they're going, in the playoffs, everybody's like, believe, and so they always play that song.
Yeah.
And also when you know how we listen to lots of people who like to talk about music, like Rick Beato and others. You find out trivia. It's the only song where the chorus is not sung until the very end of the song.
Yeah.
Every other song ever made, you go blah 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 blah, chorus, blah blah blah, chorus. Don't Stop Believing It doesn't happen until the end of the song, which is unusual.
Yeah, that is weird. You know what? By the way, this episode should be called "Don't Believe Everything You Hear." Right? Come up with a parody version of that song. We'll have to work on that next time.
Okay, Olivier's got that figured out.
Don't start
believing. Believing is a bad.
Start believing. I think that's.
Don't start believing.
Don't stop. No, don't start believing. Yeah, that's great, man. See?
It could be an anthem for the AI age where you can't believe what your eyes are seeing anymore.
Exactly.
Right.
Don't start believing. Yeah, that's my Steve Perry. What do you think?
Everything you hear on social media.
Well, this also has some serious implication.
Yeah.
In other area like faith, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, but before our disclaimer, let's introduce Kris. Dude, what the hell, man? Welcome.
Thanks for finally having me. I've been trying for several years, but it finally finally, just a few years. A few years late to the party.
Oh my gosh, that.
Yeah, he has got
look at
his
this dude.
gear.
Oh,
Nice.
Where's your branded thingy, guys?
Oh,
Disney has one. Yeah.
Our show is hijacked by.
That's for a good cause. That's for a good cause.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? I'm gonna have to leave for a second in a minute, and I'll go find the box that was delivered while I was out of town. I think my Elevate Our Kids hoodie arrived.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So
By the way, there's no link to the cause on the description of the channel.
Oh, we have to do that then.
That's a big miss, man. I was looking for it.
That is terrible. Oh my gosh! Look at all these people.
That's kind of how we call Leonard. A lot of times we just refer to him as Big Miss.
Yeah, because we're promoting that thing. There's no link anywhere.
Instead of Ole Miss. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God, we got Mark. Woo!
Yeah. Look at this. This is crazy. It's a party.
Yeah. I was doing some fact checking on the music the most heard, listened, and played. Copilot says it's a Christmas song, Bing Crosby's White Christmas. But I don't know.
Start believing.
Stop believing. Use Copilot.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
You're the
Gemini.
Are you the one, Olivier, who uses Copilot?
I am the one.
Oh my God, the one person.
Yeah. I could share my screen and show you me using Llama 3.2 locally.
Yes.
I saw your little write up there.
Please don't do that.
inside PowerShell.
What model did you use, Rob?
3.2. I think it was the 7 billion parameter model. Just something that could fit on a laptop is all I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing too big.
Private AI, right?
Yeah.
Private AI. If I'm preaching private AI in my job that it's really happening and people are building private infrastructure with their private data, I'm seeing is believing. I should be able to do it, right? I should make it real.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like some journalist who's just saying stuff and they don't really know what they're saying, right?
Absolutely.
God
Yeah.
forbid.
Wait, that happened? Is that for real?
Oh, are you saying that journalists just say things that maybe aren't real?
That
I
breaking
mean,
news?
Oh my gosh.
Do analysts say things that they never tried or they
I don't
never
know.
used? Or they never
Oh yeah. Yeah. A lot of them do. A lot of them talk about things that they've never done. And a lot of them come from numbers. There are a few that I know who are engineers who get it, who can actually, think through things, right? From a technical and an implementation perspective, full life cycle. That's really important. There are very few who don't have engineering or, building experience that get it, but that's through years and years of just kind of distilling information from actual practitioners. Yeah.
Distillation.
Yeah.
From
But
your LLM to my LLM. Yes. Or my SLM or my.
Yeah. I mean, a perfect example is API. The way that people use that acronym, that concept is so freaking hilarious, right? They get confused. They don't even know what an API is, really. They go, oh, yeah, API economy, API this and that. And I was like,
I think I may have said that before. Sorry. But yes, you're right. Some of these people don't know. As Leonard was talking about when we first got on, a few of us were on an analyst call with Dr. Lisa Su from AMD yesterday. And some of the questions that were being asked on the call kind of indicated the brain power of certain people on the call.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
All I have to say is we have to up the game in the analyst world because it's being bastardized.
Whoa!
People who want to start talking about hits and misses on estimates, that's somebody else's job.
Right.
You're not. If you want to do Wall Street stuff, go to Wall Street.
Be a financial analyst.
Yeah. Go and try to get into Goldman Sachs or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just I think it actually ruins it for the rest of the analysts who are trying to do real. Yeah,
but the issue is AI has become such a mainstream societal story on the evening news that every journalist is now covering AI, regardless of their background.
Yeah, and getting it immensely wrong. So
I'm just so glad that our fearless leader has arrived. Hello, Steph.
Yeah, what's up?
Hold on. There we go. My system had to do a system restore like right when this meeting was started. Get into my app and then the calendar is wiped clean.
Oh, what?
Oh, it's because you got a Windows box.
Yes. So
every time you can blame it on Microsoft.
It's Copilot that is helping you cleaning up your agenda for the day. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's your AI activity.
It's like I live by my calendar. If it's not in there, it didn't happen.
Or it's not real.
What you wish became reality, right? You didn't want to have any. You wanted a free day.
Yeah, it's like a vision board.
I might have to do like a backup. Like go backwards because I don't want to accept that update. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, as some of you have been on the show for a while, you'll know when Stephanie had another traumatic incident related to losing email and calendar. And this time it was Rackspace.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're still my enemy. I will never, ever do business with that company.
Oof.
That's brutal. They'll never be a sponsor of Elevator Kid.
There you go.
That's.
Do you remember?
But everyone else will.
They could redeem themselves, though, by becoming a sponsor. It sounds.
Olivier, do you remember at Microsoft before we had the cloud and before we did all the, we had this notion of like hosted exchange and we had partners that could host exchange for people. And Rackspace was one of them. Didn't go well. And
True.
They had at some point in time, they had 75% of their traffic was porn.
Oh yeah.
They're making their money. Yeah,
that's good.
Everybody.
That's good.
What is it now? What 85%?
Yeah, right.
I'm curious to see.
SMB porn companies were like, no, they just kicked me out. I'm done. I had 2 weeks with no email. even they're not going to stick around for that.
I'm curious to see to learn how many AI like video producing bots are actually making 80 to 90% of their actual revenue on porn today. I'm curious to see.
I think a lot.
For those reasons, I'm out.
Partner.
Rob is like,
Yeah. Okay. So let's start off with our disclaimer. So, hey everyone. Yeah, like 10 minutes in. Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. We are looking forward to a really cool conversation. We have like friggin' how many people on here? 10 people. That's pretty incredible. And we have a new special, not a special guest. Hopefully he'll be a permanent fixture. Kris Watson. Hey, Kris, how's it going?
Thanks for friendly having me.
Yeah, next time you're doing bad karaoke.
Yes, I will get everything set up. Bad karaoke.
Yeah, get your stuff. Yeah, get your shit together, man.
Wait a minute. I missed. What did you guys sing?
I didn't. I tried to.
Start believing.
My setup was bad.
Oh, start believing.
Don't start believing. It's our own version of don't stop believing. So, yeah. And so remember, to like, share, comment, react to our conversation. Yes, it's long. We have no script. We just hit the, record button every week and we vent. And so, the beauty of all of this is at the end of the day, we become prophetic and we basically tell things like it is and likely what you can expect tomorrow. But with that statement, remember, don't do anything important with anything we say. Okay? If you do, it's your fault. All the liability lies on you. We're just here having fun and just venting our frustrations with a world filled with hype. And hopefully in this process of just ranting and raving, we will get to a few nuggets that you can tune into that will improve your life and your business. So with that, we're going to get started. Hey, what the hell happened this week?
You blinded me with science.
Hey, Semtech, they got their little friggin' RedCap module certified by AT&T. So let's start off with IoT. That's kind of cool, right? A little bit of RedCap news.
Little RedCap. No cap with that RedCap.
You guys are
like PopCap games.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Kris, what do you think? What do you think about RedCap? What's your feel on that?
I feel like no one's going to notice it.
I have nothing valuable to say on that.
Okay. All right. Wasted a bullet there, man.
The new 5G.
Never stop telco from trying. You'll never stop telco from trying. That's what I have to say. So that's good.
There goes Rob.
Oh, Rob's left.
Yeah.
He's about to come back with a red cap.
The RedCap thing is.
I wanted to show stuff.
So does that mean that Semtech is giving up on LoRaWAN?
Oh, sweet.
No, they're not. They're not. I think they're diversifying. It's like kind of like, I don't know what you've noticed, Olivier, but in the past few, actually IoT startups, you're starting to see more of like sort of these, like converged network concepts, right? Gateways and stuff like that. The idea of backhauling things with 5G and then extending things through, let's say, longer range, lower power protocols and technologies. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I and that's where I think a lot of these companies are looking at some sort of integration play. So I don't know. You let me know what you think, what you see, or Mark.
But Semtech just have LoRa is just a tiny part of their portfolio, right? So, and I don't think that the money they make with LoRa it's very significant.
No,
it's maybe Alistair would still be there.
You know
what? No,
note where he went. It was Blues. He was looking into multi-radio solutions.
Yeah, right.
But Mark, what you're saying actually goes in. That's why I had this reaction of like, well, does it mean that it's putting a nail in the coffin of LoRaWAN? LoRaWAN is great technology. Now the question is, if you don't deploy your own private network, like there's no coverage. apart from some European cities these days, or apart if you go with the Amazon version of Sidewalk. So at the end of the day, like it's good for building your own personal, private, long range network, and then you have to manage it, right? Which that might not be, you are a farmer or you're in mining. That might not be what you want to do, managing a network, right? And so I can see
the industry is getting successful these days. Because they have a software that manages these and that reduce the friction, right, to manage a fleet of LoRaWAN gateways. But it's a painful process, and companies probably don't want to become infrastructure managers.
And by now, all the cellular providers have been blocking LoRaWAN from being deployed because, like, they could have themselves on their antenna deployed LoRaWAN gateways to even like doing their own private LoRaWAN networks, but they didn't. And when you look at the specs of LTM and now what you can do with things like Starlink with satellite, do you need LoRaWAN? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but it was always meant to be. It was always meant to be a network for the people, right? I mean, that's the way that they were kind of looking at it. And I mean, I think the problem is we jump right over what the hell problem are you trying to solve? I mean, it's good for devices that don't need real time. I mean, if you just want to batch collect and send, then sure, it's good. But I mean, the same thing could have been said for even the lower bandwidth, Sigfox, everything like that. But I mean, you get stuck at the lower levels of these things. And I think that the connectivity piece of it, while critical, it still ties itself to, what problem are you trying to solve? And I just don't see, I mean, we can dig into the whole thing about these low power wide area network solutions. LoRaWAN still had problems with over the air updates, and doing it securely and all of these types of things. And if you want to expose your OT devices to those types of, I'll capture your network and start, taking your stuff offline, then I mean, sure. I don't know. I mean, our perspective, on our side has always been, I don't care what the connectivity is as long as it's reliable.
I think the value proposition, it's demonstrated. I mean, what they wanted basically, it's a long range and low power connectivity network, and they found this free spectrum, right? Where they could manage this connectivity. I don't think they made a people's network or so. I think that was Helium's mission, but or a statement. But
how did that go?
I think long range, low power, it's one of the best. Yeah. Then, of course, you have other downsides like the OTA, that it's not possible, or it's possible after several days, and microcontrollers probably are not good on that. But out of that, I think it does what it's expected to do, right? Yeah. And you mentioned Sigfox. I think these demonstrated the Sigfox failure, and probably Helium. I'm not sure about Helium future, but what demonstrated is probably global networks so people or companies don't need global networks. So probably private low power with area networks.
But I think Mark, too, I agree with you. They're like, and I don't want to like poo-poo LoRaWAN. Actually, I think it's a great protocol and great solution for the last mile. And the problem that I've seen is that people have been talking about it as it's the IoT connectivity solution, and you're just like, wait a second. So, how about a scenario where LoRaWAN sits next to other protocols? Maybe wired ones. And you have like that gateway that does more than just the freaking LoRa connectivity and communication. So Particle has an interesting device, the Muon, which is a carrier board for their MSOM device, like chips and modules. The MSOM itself has satellite, cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all that. And the carrier board has LoRaWAN. And I just started to think about, hey, wait a second. So if I want a gateway that is able to hook up to different types of devices that have wireless connectivity and aggregate that data to then send it to the cloud or massage it or give it to your business apps and so on. That's the scenario of that heavier gateway that is, to me, really making LoRaWAN shine as one of the networks for accessing types of devices that are further away, not wired on battery, and so on. So I think it's a complement to other solutions at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think people want to kind of avoid people just want to avoid the license spectrum hassles, business model hassles of license spectrum. As soon as you get into license spectrum and you're a customer of AT&T, then it's like, this is a whole other thing. So I think if people can make their solutions work in unlicensed spectrum, I think that's probably what people would prefer, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But then I think we get into the whole issue of how many devices you have, noise floor issues and things like that. When you have that, that significant population of devices that are trying to talk at any given time. Yeah. I mean, part of me so Oliver, you say, the last mile, I guess my pushback would be, why not 900 megahertz? Why not 900 megahertz mesh? I mean, you still have those same issues when you start talking about millions of devices that are all within a specific proximity of the noise floor being a problem. Your TXRX falling off, dropping packets, all of that good stuff. But that's why, for me, again, and to your point about the gateway piece of it, I agree. These technologies are great for solving specific problems. But the thing that bothers me about any multi-transport gateway is, one, how in the hell do you secure all of that? And then two, why can't you have a standard mechanism for firmware updates?
Yeah. A standard mechanism for firmware updates will never happen.
I mean, but I would argue that lightweight M2M could actually do it.
But that sucks,
FOTA. FOTA is a four-letter word for a reason. So,
as Olivier knows, what does Sigfox and LoRaWAN have in common?
They're French.
They're French technologies.
Oops.
No income, no revenues.
Yikes.
Is there a graveyard list somewhere of all the companies that have tried this and why they failed and where they failed and when is there any kind of graveyard list so that we can stop reduplicating?
But as we're sitting here bashing LoRa, I know lots of people who've had great success deploying their own just private LoRa networks, not LoRaWAN, just because you can buy those deals. For those of us who spent a lot of time with their cowboy boots on doing IoT and agriculture and ranches and farms, LoRa was a godsend for those folks.
Like specific scenarios, solving actual problems, as Bill was saying. And
it was a godsend, but the financial and the economics weren't there, and that's the problem in terms of volume and just the business models and making money off of doing this for a farm or a ranch. The money's not there.
But I think that's why
Jimmy Chapman, Ranch Sense, we got to have him on here.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy on. Yeah, I talk to Jimmy every once in a while.
Wait, and speaking of LoRa, where's Steve?
He's all fixing a network.
Yeah. What are you talking about? He's out trying to sell something.
Taking the devices one by one.
He's selling 24/7.
I think he sells more than does anything else.
That's all he talks about is how much money everybody's making in IoT.
Come here, I'll make you millions.
I was almost excited when AWS first started looking into Sidewalk as a solution because I hoped they would go full on public network, but then I was mistaken. They were not here to do the network for the people, right? Who are here to hijack people's internet connection. And that's basically what they were here for, which is a bummer because when you thought about the principle of having every single freaking Echo device in a city being a gateway for a public network, that would have been a really good thing. But and as we're saying, Stephanie, people would try to make a business out of that. I don't think it's because they didn't find the right model. It's because they faced so many wrenches and so many bumps caused and built by the cellular providers, by the Amazons and so on, that they could not really get a chance to develop their own thing. And then Sigfox, you don't operate a full on network from two desktop under someone's desks. So that's what they were doing for a long time. And you're just like, where are your servers? Oh, they're here in our office. These 2 towers, you mean? Yeah,
the
that's
Dell
what
under the desk. They call it the
the
Dell under the desk topology.
it's like, oh,
my data center is right here.
Yeah, it's right here.
God.
I'm not kidding. Like, true story. That's where it started. You know?
That's wild. I love it. I do know someone who's got a company who actually does have a
Sidewalk got part of the reason why I got sidelined is because of privacy. Where people thought of it more as a data grab and they weren't comfortable with what they were going to do with that. But I think they're still going ahead with Sidewalk, but they're doing it in a different way, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I know somebody who's using Sidewalk to build a whole business around, actually.
But guys, I think in the end, there's not enough in the field real demand use cases for it, because otherwise all those problems would have been solved. I mean, I remember the early days of SMS messages in France at Bouygues Telecom. It was a little SQL Server box under the desk of an engineer. So it started like that, but then there was so much demand and use cases for people sending messages that we built the infrastructure for it. So yeah, at the end of the day, this idea of building an infrastructure for IoT devices and then hoping that people will use it is the problem. There's not enough use cases for it.
Yeah, I think there's like a Shannon's law for visibility. There are only so many valuable use cases or applications, and at some point it is just not worth it, And the folks that are at the edge of the IoT are trying to pursue that edge and expand that edge, which is valiant, but it's also brutal, right? That's like where that's where the race to the bottom, basically, that's the boundary of the race to the bottom, and you're trying to push it a little bit further, right? And so
push it real good.
I voiced that in one of our conversations some other day. For me, the whole problem of IoT is that you have 2 categories of problem. You have optimization and you have dramatically new models. And a lot of the time it's optimization. So yes, you can optimize mining or agriculture, but how much is the optimization compared to the investment you have to make in the technology? And if it's not 10-fold or 100-fold, it doesn't materialize.
Well, the other vector everyone is pursuing AI is adaptability, right? Dynamism and adaptability. That's what they're trying to do. And so maybe there's that new class of visibility that's required to get you the data you need to be able to do that, the contextual data. So there may be more like merit to that, but then there's the problem with AI, right? And the challenges that I think all of us have seen through the years with, a lot of companies trying to apply the technology. It's tough, and I don't think the LLMs are not solving any of the problems. They're just creating more problems, in my opinion. So look, they're spending billions to train an LLM to do what this thing does, which is simple math. It's freaking ridiculous, right? Energy hard.
Like the project from NASA compared with the Russian solution for that?
Oh, yes. That's a commonly used thing. Just use a pencil instead of a magic $1,000 pen. Gravity.
Right. The anti-gravity pen versus the pencil.
No, anti-gravity pen. Remember that?
Yeah. A lot of money. So this is such a weird deal. There's clearly value in a subset of IoT use cases for LoRa, and they deliver tremendous value to certain sectors, verticals. But what everyone here is saying, though, is it's not going to be a big moneymaker for somebody.
Yeah.
That being said, was there still great value delivered to customers using that technology? The answer is yes. So how do you reconcile tremendous value for an industry or a sector, but people are in that business doing it? Or maybe, I don't know who's not making money. I get what you're saying. Is this like a charity then? Or is this a government? Is this a USAID thing instead of a business? Or what is this? You know, if I'm gonna help deliver precision agriculture because we need to feed 9 or 10 billion people by 2050, LoRa is one of the best options to go with.
Sure.
I'm just kind of thinking
Rob,
off my head. How do you reconcile the economics?
This is to me always the same problem. Is the same problem is that the whole industry is looking for scale. So how can you sell more of this with very minimum human investment? That's where all digital money comes from. When you look at the cyber physical world, start putting sensors and actuator, there's an enormous amount of work of system integration, which is human driven, and that does not scale.
Right. People need to get their hands.
The problem of industrial IoT we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Industrial IoT doesn't exist because it's just system integration of a bunch of engineers that connect the physical to the digital. So that's the whole problem. And actually, if you want to be hopeful, because I would disagree with you, Leonard, on the fact that AI and LLM is all BS. I think what's going to happen.
I would say it's all BS.
So, yeah, of course, I'm being controversial here. So because I think over time, expertise is going to become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So when the agriculture guy can use an LLM to say, hey, I want to put some sensor, I want to find a way to not have my crop die in the sun all the time. And the LLM tells you, hey, why don't you put a sensor here and deploy a few devices? And by the way, I can match the devices for you. So maybe that gap of knowledge and expertise can be closed by AI system and then open a whole lot of new use cases. Because the learning is that, I mean, I've been playing with NFCs and a whole bunch of new technologies now. You have an expert in LLM at your fingertips. Now, it's not perfect. It's full of bullshit and you have to see to be smart. But if we project ourselves a few years ahead, expertise is going to become free.
And I would say that a lot of, knowledge is sort of free these days. At least information is, maybe knowledge synthesis. Yeah, but I mean, did you see that post by David Linthencombe? You know him, right? He's like the data center dude, cloud guy. And basically, he tried to train an avatar based off of his research and all the publications, hundreds of papers and stuff like that he's written. And basically, this thing turned into like a friggin' his own personal Tay. He said that this thing was like an asshole, and he was just shocked by number one, the attitude, but then also the fact that this thing was not representing him in his knowledge base, right? And so there's this problem with the continuum of knowledge and how we evolve in terms of our thinking, our perspective, and our history actually can be the history of our thinking. What do they call it? The friggin' digital exhaust, or what do they call? What's that?
Data exhaust.
Yeah, you know, I remember. No, the digital thread. Actually could include a shit ton of like contradictory information. And so at the end of the day, when you try to create these knowledge or expertise avatars, it's going to spew out a bunch of crap.
But Leonard, yeah, but be careful here, because this is the usual human arrogance. Is I'm going to take my personal life, I'm going to train a model, I'm going to expect it to be good. There's a granularity level. I mean, if you look at the field of mathematics or some branch, so there's a level from high to low. And I think that the levels from high are going to be much, much more accessible now by LLMs, because again, you want to look at the field of NFCs. You want to look at certain branch of mathematics. There is enough writing and data about that the model will do a good job. Now you're looking at a little guy somewhere in his own little world that want to train a model to be as smart as him, and the model becomes an asshole. Yes, probably. So again, there's no one size fits all. You have to be smart.
No, but those things that you're talking about, this very domain specific training, which is part of the MOE model. That, you know, that's like trying to create this. I mean, they literally have an MOE or aspect of a MOE that they're training to do friggin' simple math.
But why not?
But then when you think about expertise, it's far beyond, expertise is far beyond expert knowledge, right? And or information or knowledge.
No, but I don't disagree. But my whole point is that it's still much better and much more effective than you having to read the internet or Wikipedia and learn on your own. Now you can talk to those things at a certain level, and you can get a lot of at least level 1 or level 2 knowledge. And
but as a human, how do you ever learn and validate? That's the thing. That's called experience, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, and again, the field is still new, and maybe the technology is fundamentally new. But again, what I learned from this DeepSeek is actually you now have a mechanism where you have a very smart model that can train a smaller one that is effective, which is the way we've been doing things as humans. So it's getting interesting, I believe. So the thing is that the only problem is that most of the people look at that in a 30-second soundbite, and then they're sending the NVIDIA stock and it goes down. So you have to look at the broader, bigger picture and find what is good. And this is the message here. So,
all right, Leonard, let's share a local llama instance here for folks to show them that this is real, and maybe we'll do some mathematics, Leonard, to see if it can do as well as your 4-function calculator. All right, here, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to just share a PowerShell window, actually. Okay, does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
All right. So you can download a tool called Ollama, which is like a runtime to let you run some different LLMs locally. And they have some that you can download to choose from, and you can run them natively. You can run them in Docker containers and stuff like that. And I'm going to be writing a bunch more in the future about this. But in this case, I downloaded Llama 3.2 from Meta, the 7 billion parameter one, which is, part of this is, can it fit in your RAM, right? Your ability to run it locally is dependent on that. So let me ask Llama, let me ask a question. Let's say, what do you think about IoT Coffee? What do you think about the IoT Coffee Talk podcast? Let's see what we get. All right, you see it's thinking. No personal opinions or feelings. I can tell you the podcast is well regarded in the tech community.
Well, that's accurate.
Wow.
Popular, informative. Let's
look like a bunch of bullshit.
So that means that LLMs can,
Who's Kris?
even when running locally, they can hallucinate, right?
It's got the wrong people's names.
I love it. So, did it hallucinate?
Yeah.
It's got my name wrong.
All right. So let's try something else.
Oh my god.
Let's say, what if
Stephanie, get to rebrand this to the AI Coffee Talk Hour. He's got to get some new hoodies.
5? Easy math, 25. Woo!
Oh, cool.
Right.
That was pretty quick.
Can you ask it what's the most played music of all time?
Okay.
So funny.
Oh, don't even.
Oh, Jesus. It is really good at making excuses.
well,
Yes.
there was,
Hey, Kris, there you go. There's your answer.
yeah, I tried ChatGPT starts with the same.
Wow.
Look at Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby is, well, he's been around for ever.
Ed Sheeran?
I think the question they're saying album sold or something like that. But that's more
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But that's easier. The most play is much more first subjective and multi-channel. The most sold that we find.
Exactly.
So, but again, that's a good example of exactly what I was saying. With all respect, IoT Coffee Talk is the best podcast ever in the whole world. But we have 250 or 300 episodes. So how much data, how much knowledge that it has about that? So, and being an expert in IoT Coffee Talk is a very, very low level of granularity. What I'm saying is that at higher level of granularity, like a specific field, for example, you want to learn about NFC, you're going to find great stuff. I mean, I was able to crack some problem from scratch just using an LLM for that because it's a broader field at a higher level. So I think this navigation between the levels is an important thing to understand.
Yeah.
I think where I've seen a lot of improvements, and you guys are probably using this every single day, is that take, for example, the browsers. Right now, when I'm sitting doing homework with my son and there's a problem and I don't remember how to do it, and I'm like, oh, I always have to go do a quick research. Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm up to date now. Let me help you. What we've been doing is taking a picture of the entire problem, popping it into Google search, just the image of the picture of the problem, right? And it goes out and finds a full workup of the entire problem. solves it for us, shows us all the examples, there's videos, there's whatever. So I feel like with that being said, there are a lot of really great use cases for images and data, just kind of like pulling and compiling database type information or even search engine information. But just like Leonard's saying though, with a lot of the things that he's been testing, we've all been testing different things out, right? And we're finding a lot of flaws. We're finding a lot of holes. We're finding complete just mischaracterizations of specific questions we already know the answer to that we ask. And so for that, like you just have a lot of skepticism. But like Dimitri said, we are going to get to a point where it doesn't matter what we think, perception wise, the public's going to think, well, that's an expert opinion.
Well, they're going to believe.
By the way,
believe. That's the problem. They will believe. They will not validate. And then so the David example is really important because this thing friggin' T'd out. And the joke that it wasn't really a joke. It was just really sort of a contemplation that if you scale this thing out 1 billion times, how would that impact your person? When everyone believes the avatar that you're like, let's say a flaming asshole, to, your actual self, how much damage does that do? It's like, it's friggin' unbelievable.
No, here we're hitting a scale.
People will believe. They'll believe the avatar. They won't believe you. They won't take the time to get to know you.
But you
have the burden of proving that you're not an asshole.
I think the problem, to me, one of the bigger problems is that the higher the risk or higher the harm, the more problematic it becomes, right? So in areas where accuracy really counts, right, you really can't mess around. So in Steph's example where we're doing like this homework assignment, no one's gonna die because you got the answer wrong, right? Or that you have to correct something. But what if that was done in like medical? You probably wouldn't want your doctor to be using something that gives them false information and they're making bad decisions based on incorrect data, right? And then you're reinforcing it because you're telling people the same wrong stuff
over and over.
By the way, Stephanie, your example is actually extremely interesting to me because the first thing it shows that our education system, and this is worldwide everywhere, is basically based on solving problems that people have already solved. And in a world of AI, I think that's a fundamentally wrong problem. So we should think about it very deeply, changing our education system because those problems have been solved. So why learn them? Learn how to.
That's what education's about. Education is about learning. I think
it's amazing that the same exact problem, including the numbers and the character, everything that's in that equation, it's been done, it's out there, and it's actually showcasing. So it's not even finding an example of one. It is the actual problem that almost 99% of the time showing me. But I think that's pretty wild to me.
But I have to disagree, Leonard. I think we're going to have to change education when you live in a world where you cannot trust or believe anything that you read or see or listen to. We're going to have to think.
I think that
you have to learn critical thinking. Steve.
I think that's a different problem. Exactly, Pete. It's like, how do you learn critical thinking? How do you develop the filter? But there's a knowledge base. There's a knowledge base and a learning base that you need to establish. And for humans, it's a friggin' tough exercise that we have to go through from like what my kids are going through. All of our kids have gone through if we have kids. We witness this. And if we deprive them of the learning process, are you going to tell me because we have this that nobody should learn how to do math? Simple math? Dude, this is the problem I have with a lot of parents who think that we should teach them how to use productivity tools instead of learning. And there are these Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, but everything is in the balance. Again, there's a level at which you have to have some fundamentals and then rely on experts. Otherwise, you're going to have to say everybody that builds a company needs to be able to do every single thing on the company. Otherwise, it doesn't work. No, you rely on other people. And what I'm saying is that the problem is that where you put the cursor, and that in a world where expertise and some forms of intelligence, assuming they are well assessed, and actually that's probably or certified or whatever, it changes the way we do things. And if we don't embrace that, it will happen anyway, and it will happen for bad.
I think that if you're talking about, if you're talking about mathematics, it for the most part, we think about it is universal. There are things out there in these knowledge databases that are universal across, they're global. This is just the way it is. I think that for, LLMs, that those, in applying it to those things, it makes sense. Where there's critical thinking involved and analysis involved and expert opinion involved, that's where I am probably the most frightened when it comes to AI. And then, Debbie, you're right about just the critical nature. Anything that's critical infrastructure, medical, health related, public safety related, that scares me too.
And if I may, like analogies are the millions out there, right? The Formula One driver certainly needs to know how the car works to really make the most out of it. You don't need to know how your engine works in your car to operate it, right? A carpenter will do a fantastic job with the same tool you might be using at home, and you'll do a crappy job because you're not a carpenter. At the end of the day, there is an expertise, there is a savoir-faire that you can, sorry for the French word, I like to play fancy. Ooh.
Problem when you have two French people on the show.
And yeah, exactly. And the thing though is that you still will need new tools, yes, to give a lot of information, but you will still need to have maybe less people, but some people who understand how to use that tool and use it well, and maybe we'll need less experts, but we'll still need some, and so that's a fact. The other thing I wanted to before I lift the mic to someone else, but the other thing is we're talking about like the teaching, the schools, the whatever. We need to take into account the cultures. There are differences. In France, you don't go through school the same way in the US. In the US, you learn to solve problems by looking at different type of solutions. In France, you learn how to learn and to find a solution. It's a different way of I've seen both, right? I've been in the US for 17 years and went through school in France, seeing my kids going in the US. It's a different culture, different way of approaching, learning. And so the skills are different at the end of the day. And I do believe there's going to be an impact that's going to be different on the different cultures from Gen AI in terms of where the impact will be and in terms of how intense it will be.
Have you guys called Bordy yet?
Yeah, but that's another dimension. But even your argument that the craftsmen and the handy things, you have robot surgeons that do better than surgeons now. So I think we're assuming too many things. What I'm saying is that it is going to change very profoundly our societies, and we have to start thinking about it, but in the right way, not in what's the impact on my Nvidia stock, which is what everybody's been thinking for 2 weeks now. So,
although that is important.
But I mean, even your example with the robot surgery. So if a robot does surgery on you and kills you, you're like, okay, whoops. On to the next one, right?
Yeah, but this is not
the level of the reason why isn't there.
But it is not the reason why to forbid everybody to do robots. When we were surgeon robots, when we started doing surgery as human, a lot of people died too. So I think much more complicated than that.
I've got a real life example. Have you heard about Bordy? It's the first AI that raised 8 million on its own.
No.
You heard about Bordy? All right, Bordy, it's free. There's a number I can share it in. I've been calling Bordy every single day, and it's doing what I do, but at a massive level. It's networking. So it quickly ingested all my information. I explained it was a live conversation. It was the most intelligent conversations I've had with an AI before, and it was scary good. And I've been calling it literally every single day since, and saying, hey, who can you introduce me to in the VC private equity world with analysts that I shouldn't know yet? Like, who do I not know that I should get to know? And then it follows up. Bordy, B-O-R-D-Y. It raised 8 million on its own. Just Bordy. PCs
And
talking to the AI.
That's a CRM relationship kind of knowledge base, but it sounds like it also has some recommendations based on your conversation. So some industry or very specialized people.
I was surprised at its ability to have intelligent conversation and make relevant recommendations. So not only talent and networking, it's actually doing something for me. It's moving the needle.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like in the marketing world, AI it's changing the industry, whether the marketers, agencies like it or not. Just the tools, the resources, the imagination, the creativity, availability that's out there is in just the mass production that can take place as a result of that, especially with ad generation and then changing ads on the fly, real time, because they see things aren't like, there's just a lot of changing dynamics that's happening because you are taking the human factor out and putting in some other level of intelligence. So I do see specific industries where there's some mass change happening.
Oh yeah.
And for the better. But I'm always going to be the skeptic.
By the way, I had my cousin had a procedure recently, and she had a robot assisted surgery. So there was a surgeon there, but the robot helped. And with the robot assisted surgery, apparently the data shows that the recovery time is way faster. It's more precise, and it's a less invasive, traumatic type of procedure. So I think what we're going to see is using AI as an amplifier for people's capabilities.
I see it as I have no problems with AI assisting. I have a huge problem with people wanting AI to somehow take over.
Right.
Substitute management. And so that's where I feel like a lot of the bigger players, that's what they're aiming for. They're trying to say, hey, fire your employees because they suck, because AI can do their exact jobs. They actually, no, it can't.
But this is unfortunately going to happen, because the same thing, we increase revenue, reduce profit. Until we get out of this obsession of increase revenue and reduce profit, people will try. It might work in some places, it will fail in others. This is going to happen. And what I'm saying is that we just need to start thinking and be prepared for that. The problem is we're really touching at the essence of humanity, which is kind of intelligence. And then obviously the opposition starts, are the machines going to be better than I? Is it going to be a battle, as opposed to how do we work together? Because this is what's going to happen long term. There are going to be tons of crises, don't get me wrong. But I do believe that we should really, really spend time understanding those things and also regulating things, which is very difficult to do as well. But it will change the world, whether you like it or not, because humans have a tendency to. Now we have things that speak our language.
Yeah, I agree. But the point I'm saying is that the humans should still be in the driver's seat, right? Even if they're assisted by these technologies. But the time where you feel like the technology should be a decision maker, that's wrong.
And since Leonard's going to have to drop any second now, and he's recording, we have to wrap this up, unfortunately.
I've got one more plug. It's happening end of February at Bangers. It's in Austin, part of the Edge AF. So Tom White and I were put on an event. A lot of you already got it. If you're not, definitely be there in Austin at Bangers.
I saw that this morning, Chris. Yes. Edge AI Foundation in Austin.
Yes. Barbecue,
I am.
right?
Me and Tom are. Yeah, me and Tom White are speaking.
All right.
Party in Austin. End of Feb.
That's right.
Everyone's going to be there.
Rob, if there's barbecue, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Barbecue. Good barbecue.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining us on IoT Coffee Talk. We're a lot about AI today. We're all thinking, gosh, how can we profit off of this? I was just compiling. I mean, Google 75 billion, Microsoft 80 billion, Stargate 100 billion, Amazon 100 billion, Meta 65 billion. This year, those companies are spending that much money on AI infrastructure. Wow. Maybe think about your stock portfolio. This is all for entertainment purposes, though. Who stands to gain when somebody's spending that kind of money building data centers? You can figure it out yourselves, I think. Thanks so much for joining us.
Also, it's America Wear Red Day, so just to highlight the American heart, So yeah, so that's why I'm wearing red today. So.
All right, even better. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you in Austin.
Austin.
All right, see you in Austin.
See you guys.
Bye.
Yeah.